Hello, everybody. It's Donna Cravata, and we're back again with another Real 50 Over 50 interview. And today we have Patricia Greenberg. She's a nationally sought after chef, wellness, and aging expert, a pro aging advocate, an author, and leader of the It's Okay to Be Old movement. She shares insights and interviews on a weekly YouTube show titled the same thing, It's Okay to Be Old. And her most recent of five books is also titled the same thing. She also has a series of seminars and media interviews throughout the country to empower older adults to embrace their age. She's achieved a Bachelor of Arts in Nutrition and Food Science, a degree in Culinary Arts, she's a certified culinary professional nutritionist and health coach specializing in aging and a personal trainer. So she's done the work. She knows what she's talking about. She has a special interest in paying it forward by enhancing the education of the general public and providing accurate health information to today's consumer. She's passionate about her own wellness. She's run 20 marathons, 115 half marathons, and climbed towers and stadiums all over the world. Now at 65, she's a yin yogi and gym devotee, determined to stay strong for life. She's married with a grown daughter, and she's an avid knitter and book club junkie. And we are going to get all into a conversation about aging well. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Don. I'm so thrilled to be here. And that intro was fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
all you, baby.
Yeah.
You've done it all.
Yeah.
So let's just dive in. Like, how does one become a pro-aging advocate for themselves and
Uh,
outwardly?
no, it's a great question, and it's totally, as you can imagine, by default and by I always joke I'm the accidental aging expert. Uh, as you mentioned, my background is in nutrition and wellness and advocacy for that. And I was on every bandwagon. I'm 65, so I've heard it all, every diet, every fitness trend. I was married later than most people in my generation. And I say that specifically because so many women my age in their 60s got married very young, between
Mhm.
18 and 21. I'm not saying everybody, but many, many ladies in our age group got married young.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, they did not fulfill their personal goals until a later age, which circles back to even, more empowerment of older women. So I didn't get married until I was 37. So I lived 1,000 lifetimes before I got married. And I didn't have my daughter until I was 40. And when I had my daughter, I was 40. I started her in nursery school and mommy and me and all that when she was about one and a half, two. So I'm 41, 42, and the other mothers are in their 20s.
Mhm.
There's a few in their 30s, but I truly was a standout. And I could have been the grandma's ages for some of these kids. And I was at the peak of my marathon running. I'd started late. I started everything late. I was a late bloomer across the board in everything that I did. And it was interesting how the women would respond to me. You're 40, you shouldn't be running marathons. You're in your 40s, you shouldn't be running around in workout clothes anymore. Like things.
Yeah.
And I come home and say to my husband, what are they talking about? Like I didn't even, it didn't even occur to me that anything I was doing was out of the ordinary because I was just doing it. That's one thing in my favor is, Donna, I like to say I'm the uncoolest person on the planet. I was such not a trend follower and never wanted to keep up with the neighbors and the Joneses. So if I felt like going out and doing something extraordinary, I just went and did it. It didn't occur to me. I try to do some of the homework on it and the pre-work, but what I started to see was ageism, and I didn't have a term for it then. This is 20, my daughter's 24. I didn't even have a name for it, and I couldn't even explain how I was feeling, but I felt like I was being deemed as a social outcast. And I had decided, I want to write a couple more books. I had already written uh, two at that point. Both of them were cookbooks because my background's in nutrition and wellness. And I embarked on the journey through my daughter's little years when I was staying home on providing healthy food and cooking classes and mommy and me vegetable classes. And when I had birthday parties, I tried to make them on the healthy side. Donna, if I tell you the pushback I got from that, was unbelievable. So I'm like getting it from all sides, you know.
Yeah, you don't
I'm
wanna
older.
mess with the cupcakes.
Yeah, I did allow the cupcakes. I was the older mother. I was doing health and wellness things, and a lot of these women would just, I wasn't trying to buck any system.
Mm,
And so there were some years there I was really baffled. I couldn't believe that people were not interested in bettering their lives. And then I realized they weren't interested in bettering their lives in the way that I was doing it. So I
yeah,
said, okay, I'm going to just kind of continue on my career, do what I'm doing. And I just fell into it. I wrote again, early days. I had a couple of cookbooks out, and a radio show at Cal State Northridge had me on as a guest. It was a show called Let's Do Lunch. It was a classical music station. And at lunchtime, he would interview chefs and authors and people that had to do with food and not
mm,
so much wellness, but he had me on. And I kid you not, at the end of the show, he said, "You're really good at this. Would you like to come on and take my show?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, I'm a sound engineer, a musician, and I run this station, and I really don't want to do the show anymore." He goes, "We'll move it to drive time. We'll turn it into whatever you want it to be. I want to have a food show on, but I don't want to do it anymore." Donna, truly, it fell into my lap. I was
mm,
like, "Whoa, okay." Now, when I first started that, I was pregnant with Gabriella, so I was still kind of continuing on this path of doing media, wellness in the media, and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to do it. I wasn't. And, the universe was on my side, luckily. So I started the show. It was once a week at drive time at 6:30. So my competition was Tom Likas and all those talk shows of men disparaging women, from 6 in the evening till 9 o'clock drive time. And the men, people driving would love it, the shock jocks and the whole
mhm,
thing. This is what I was up against. But the show took off and I gained some traction. And I continued to do that for about 9 years. And it was NPR, so nobody has any money over there. And they ended up closing the show. So I moved over to ABC. And again, the flack, Donna, I got from other people, not just other mothers, but just people in general. People
mm,
say, "Oh, they're jealous, they want to do it." I mean, you couldn't in those days tell anybody to eat healthy or take care of themselves without the claws coming out, and because it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't, everybody wasn't talking about how not to die, right? And how to stay healthy as you get older. Nobody was talking about that. Even 10 years ago, those were just when the rumblings were starting. So here I am, and I said, "You know what? I'm just going to run with this." I am seeing that nobody wants to talk about aging. Nobody wants to talk about health and wellness and sexuality and pursuing careers and having a wonderful life after 40, never
yeah,
mind 60. So I went out as the lone wolf and decided, to do this. So when Gabriella was 16, so that was about 8 years ago, we wrote a book together. She said to me, "Mommy, you don't know what the kids want to eat." I said, "Well, then tell me." And we went to her high school, in the
fun.
kitchen at her high school, and I brought in food stylists and photographers, and we did a whole program. And that turned into the book Scrumptious Sandwiches, Salads, and Snacks, Food for Work, School, and Home. And I designed it with in mind, because simultaneously, Donna, I had in my house myself and my husband. My husband's 14 years older than me. So I had a little kid. I had my stepson, who was in his early 30s at the time. I was obviously in my 40s. My husband was just about 60. And my mother-in-law, who was in her 90s. And we all lived in the house together. And
Mhm,
very, very few people in my daughter's generation had a multi-generational household. I grew up in one. Most of my friends knew their grandmothers. Many of my friends and family grew up with at least grandma around the corner.
mhm,
Kids weren't having that. And I had this multi-generational family in my home. And so I was trying to cook for everybody, and who likes what, and who has a health problem and who's running off to an activity. And that juggling act really taught me a lot about how people view older people. The little, Gabrielle and her friends come over, and they didn't want to play with grandma, they wanted to play with each other. So I had to figure out how to make them snacks and also keep my mother-in-law happy, and keep my husband
out of the
happy when he
way.
came home at
Yeah,
11 o'clock at night from a deal. I mean, this juggling act was insane, but it taught me a lot about how uh, intergenerational outside of the home doesn't talk to each other. They don't get along with each other. They're not interested in what each other has to say. And so I took it upon myself to say, okay, what do we do with all this? So that's how Eat Well, Live Well, and Age Well evolved.
Mhm.
And so, am I self-proclaimed aging expert? Yes, but I do have the credentials.
You
So that
absolutely do.
that is how that ball started rolling, where I would say, what's good for you at 40? What's good for you at 60? What's good for you at 80? And how do you incorporate the kids and the teenagers into that? Not just with food, with life. How do we keep that going in every aspect of our lives? And it was very, very interesting to me how solidly rigid the world was, and actually, in my opinion, continues to be. So then I went on. I got hired at ABC radio station. It's AM. They have a huge audience for older adults. I never used that term. I was still using seniors at that time. And so I recorded a half an hour show and it aired every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. And I thought, well, no one's going to listen to it. And truthfully, that was the cheapest time slot because I
Mhm.
needed to bring in my own advertisers. And I had a great following. And I just reached out. I reached out to cardiologists and
Mhm.
to old age home experts and to you name the top topic. And I said, okay, is this good for older adults? Where do older adults fit in? How will this help them? And it became sort of that overall catch-all term is, what do we need to do to take care of ourselves now so when we get older, we won't be ill, we won't be infirm, and we won't be a social outcast.
Yeah.
So that's how that evolved. And then one day I said, you know what? It's okay to be old. It's okay to be please, thank God we're here. This is a wonderful thing to be an older adult. And then it's okay was to be old was born. And I really initially said to my brother does all my graphic design and lays things out for me and puts together the covers for all my books. And I said, it's okay to be old, radical acceptance of your age. And my brother said, well, where are you getting that from? I said, well, I'm calling upon that hippie time, that the 60s and 70s where everybody was a radical and they were going to be radical and change the world in a radical way. And my brother said, why does it have to be radical? Why can't it just be thoughtful?
Mhm.
Just let's age thoughtfully. What do you have to be radical? And I said, what an interesting idea. It never occurred to me to be thoughtful and to be
Yeah.
gentle. And so
Mhm.
that's how
We don't have to fight it.
right, that's how thoughtful acceptance of our
Yeah.
age came to be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was the evolution of how we, again, that was many, many years in a nutshell. And so now what I find is I still get a lot of pushback, but I don't have to tell you and the audience that acceptances of age and being aware of healthy aging and unhealthy aging and things that work for you as you age and things that don't work is exploding. But the caveat to me, Donna, is it's still an anti-aging world.
Absolutely.
Anti-aging, I don't believe that these longevity terminology and living forever and living to be 100, for the most part, has to do with empowering. I think it has to do with fighting aging
And control.
and control, for
Because
sure.
the people that are vocal about this are not
Yes.
wanting to live for the right reasons.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's a
Um,
good point. Yeah.
what do you think that people miss, like as they start to consider that life is changing, the bodies are changing, their reactions to things are changing, they're mentally changing. What do they miss? Like, what's the things that they overlook? Um, and then when they look back, they're like, I really wish I thought of that. Because I think if we can vocalize these things, maybe less people will miss them.
Okay, so that actually ties into the terminology. So people equate turning gray with old. People equate degenerative joint disease with getting old, and being old is bad. So what people miss along the way is that aging is a natural process, and I can't always beat up the people who were missing it because the medical profession was not encouraging people to age well either.
No.
And so I will say that one of the things that I think is very, very right in front of our faces that we don't want to look at is lifestyle habits that we know are bad for us. Use the word bad, maybe not in
Hmm.
the best interest of us. People tend to ignore that. And oh, it's only one drink, or it's only a cookie. And hey, come on, let's celebrate our lives. And I think people really don't talk about missing the point is in moderation. Nobody
Hmm.
knows what that word means. And really, what it is that I think that you have to take a good hard look at how much of something you do and how often you do it. So I like to circle back to all those things that the stereotypes and what we were told is if you weren't an athletic child, which I wasn't an athletic child, you're told you're not talented, you're not athletic. What does that translate in? You're not good enough, you're not cool enough, you can't keep up. And somehow that stays with us throughout our lives. Well, I can't go to the gym. That's for the high school football player. Or I can't run a race. Yeah, you can. You can walk. You can do all kinds of modifications. And the biggest thing that people miss, unfortunately, not always their own fault, is that you could do this all in bite-sized portions.
Hmm.
And even a little bit helps. So I never say to anybody, don't ever drink, don't ever eat chocolate, don't ever eat the cupcake, and you have to go work out for 2 hours a day. It's mindfulness. It's tiny little sections and bite-sized changes in our lives. And so having said that, I don't want anybody to look back if they're in their 60s and 70s and even 80s now and beyond and look back and say, oh, I should have done ABC when I was 30. I should have become athletic. I shouldn't have stayed out at night. That was your life at the time. And right now, instead of saying there's something wrong with being old, look at it like it's a cohort. You're a toddler, you're a younger adult, you're a teenager, you're middle age, you're an older adult. Uh, People are very, very sensitive to the terminology. And I wish that people would embrace, and I even find it in people in my age, which I'm baffled, is I respected my elders. I loved my grandparents. I I really reveled in the stories they told us. I mean, maybe not everybody had that experience. I would never go into a store or a place of business and be disrespectful to an older adult based on their age. And that to me is pervasive. That I have the hardest time with. And I think if people would just accept that there is an aging process, like a process in everything else, then you can nip things in the bud. I'm starting to feel like my back hurts a little bit, or I'm starting to feel like my knees are bothering me. I see people wait until they absolutely can barely walk before they address it. And that to me that's really missing the mark, is not taking care of things when they're little or when they become obvious. Also, I'm very, very proactive with alternative treatments. So in other words, if you go to a doctor, and I still see this, Donna, I don't understand it, that are dismissive. Doctors are still very dismissive, particularly of women. Still to this day, I'm hearing it over and over again.
I've experienced it firsthand.
Yes, and if you're overweight, everything's wrong because you're heavy.
Yep.
If you're 50, everything's wrong because you turned 50. And there could be some very, very simple solutions, or there could be something serious going on that can be addressed. And younger doctors are even worse, I'm finding. Oh, well, you're 50 or you're 60 now. I don't understand it. I don't understand why aren't they
Yeah,
being
you
taught
know,
this or
I've had a different experience with younger doctors. I've had
okay.
a more extreme experience with older female doctors, like to the
Hmm.
point where they made me cry.
Yeah.
And I've got my electrophysiologist is maybe 40. I don't even think he's 40. And he has been the kindest, most empathetic doctor that I've ever had. And if you add one more layer on top of that, single,
Yeah.
it says right up at the top of my chart, never married. And I'm judged for that when I go into
Yeah.
any medical office.
Yeah. Yeah. What's
And that,
wrong with you? What's
yeah,
wrong with you? Why aren't you married? Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a choice.
Yeah.
I don't feel I was left
Yeah.
behind or
Yeah.
unlovable. I just
Right.
don't want to be married.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that all plays into that, where what women are supposed to do and how they're
Yeah.
supposed to be and how they're supposed to behave at a certain age. And people cringe when they hear older women are starring in a movie, or are sexual beings, and
Mhm.
embrace their sexuality, or start doing. That's why my whole show, It's Okay to Be Old, my whole work is based on showcasing people. I don't even give it an age. I've had people doing extraordinary things at 45, which I think is amazing, and extraordinary things in their 90s. And I've had a couple of centenarians on. Which, that kind of leads into, like, there's all this science out now about longevity and getting older. And Donna, like I mentioned earlier, it plays into the fears of aging. So people can say, well, I'll just take a pill, or I'll take that course of action, and then that way I'll feel at 80 like I do now. And there isn't any uh, guarantees or promises of how this is all going to play out and evolve. So I want to share with everybody. This is very, very important. I think this is the crux of so much of how we age. As a young child, I was an overweight child. I struggled in school, and I was marked. I was marked as unathletic. I didn't get chosen on the cheerleader team and all that. And then I found my stride with wellness in my early 30s. I mean, a little bit in my 20s, when I got to school and I got my degree in nutrition, and I started going to the gym and doing all that. I didn't start running marathons till I was 35. And if you know anything about the running world, that's when runners are retiring. And I went on something I'm very proud of. I mean, I was 54 when I ran the Boston Marathon. And then in my 60s, I started tower climbing because I developed a hip injury. It wasn't even an injury, it was osteoarthritis. I went on to have a hip replacement a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. And I said to the doctor, what is this? Is it my age? Is it wear and tear? Is it the fact that I was never athletic and became a marathon runner? He said, it's all of those things and none of those things. It could
Mhm.
be anything. You could be sedentary and this could happen. You can be ultra athletic. That is a nut we haven't cracked yet. We don't know specifically what causes arthritis. We just know there's a tendency for it to be uh, more pervasive as you get older. And some of that is just the longer you're here on this earth,
Mhm.
the higher your risk of things. So I went on to become involved with the Arthritis Foundation to kind of understand that a little bit better. But really, really fighting these societal beliefs, where, what one of the surface things we see, women worry about their looks as they get older, and they're not going to be appealing to men anymore. And I really, or other women, depending on orientation. I would really like that to be eradicated, that we can just say, as we get older, so what? I'll just be with my friends. I'll take care of I'll take care of myself in the way that I want to take care of myself. And I think we are able to do that if we could somehow just let go of all that. And that's where the spiritual work comes in. This is where you turning to your own God, your own universe, your own self, and saying, what is it I want for the rest of my life? How do I want to feel? How do I want to be? How do I want to treat others? How do I want others to treat me? And I think the more we turn inward and take a look at how we view the world and how we buy into the societal norms, that's where the change is going to come. You go into a doctor and they give you, I also went through many, many doctors before I found the right one. And I actually have these extensive discussions with my OBGYN. I still get the checkups. They say to women, well, you don't have to get mammograms so often. You don't have to get the pap smear so often. You're older. Yes, you do.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, you do.
yeah, I
You
I
need to
agree
have
with you.
everything checked. That once a year is a good guideline. And I'm a fuddy-duddy. I go and do it around my birthday. People are out. I'm going to do whatever I want on my birthday. I'm like, I'm going to go get my body checked. My birthday's in November, and I schedule all those appointments for between November and December. I'm like, I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. I color my hair. I am vain. I like the way my hair looks colored, rather than gray. I actually haven't gone gray a little bit during the pandemic. But it's me. Everyone recognizes me. When I run into my childhood friends and we're 65, they say, I could spot you 5 miles away. I look exactly the same. I wear my hair the same. I didn't go blonde because I turned 50. And so it's really, really important to stay true to yourself and to try to, we can't fight every fight. You can't be out on every picket line and every protest saying, I don't like what's going on in the world, because you won't function. It's too exhausting. So finding a way to find your own space. Donna, I'd like to also mention that we are up against a machine with all the social media and all the AI coming out. And I want to, tout what you do somewhat is one thing that I'm doing right now is I'm learning, I'm exploring and I'm learning and I'm educating myself on what I could be doing different. And that is the best brain food in the world. You can eat blueberries and you can do crossword puzzles and exercise, and I highly recommend all those things. But learning about what's going on in the world today is critical,
It
I think, for
is.
your survival, both physically, emotionally, and also spiritually, is to say, what is going on in the world instead of sitting back and going, okay, the world is horrible. Um, Everything's working against me. The universe is conspiring against me. Instead of seeing the world that way, saying, what can I do in my world and in my space, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, or take a course, get on to one of the universities and take a certificate course. Everything you can be imagine is being offered. But circling back, Donna, you said it, what do we miss? What we miss is that we don't do our homework and find reputable sources to give us our information. Please, 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 any doctor you're going to, any lecturer, any course you're taking, look into the person's background. Do they have the credentials? Am I learning accurate information? Am I learning
There's
from someone who knows what they're talking about? And that
there's
goes
so
for
much
your
there.
medical, right?
Yeah.
That goes for your everything, your just your overall wellness. I mean,
And
I,
you have to go beyond the reviews and
yes,
the
yes.
advertorials in the magazines. Like when I had my first ablation for AFib, I went to the doctor who was, I mean, they built a building for him on the side of the
Okay,
hospital.
okay.
Okay. This was the guy. He was not my guy.
Hmm.
He was not my guy. He does. There's what I've learned after the fact is that there are two kinds of ablations. There's one that's kind of like roto-rooter. You go in and you do it, and that's the one that helps most people. But then
Okay.
there's other people that have more
Uh-huh.
difficult cases of
Uh-huh.
AFib, and you need a doctor who is an expert at mapping the heart to figure out where it's happening. And I had to go to Mount Sinai to find him. He was not in Westchester County.
And you found them, thank goodness. Can I do
I
a head to toe? I want to do a head to toe on that. What happens as you age? And it happens at different ages, but there's growth spurts when we're children. There are age
Mhm.
spurts when we get older. Okay. And
Oh, I love this.
there's the information out right now is, you have a big age spurt in your 40s and you have another age spurt in your mid 60s. So around 66 is what the science is showing. And then again, there's a bottomless pit of information if you want to go down that rabbit hole. But let's talk about the overall, what happens when you age. When you age, there's this misconception that we slow down. Well, what happens is something happens, we become fearful, and then we approach things very cautiously and very slowly. So when you see somebody out, like, oh, that old person, they're walking so slow, or they're driving so slow, or they're taking so long to get their change out of their purse to pay, they're being cautious. They're
Mhm.
not slow. They're not stupid. They're not in outer space. They're being cautious. Very, very important distinction. I'm going to drive a little more carefully. Maybe my reflexes aren't as good, or maybe I've learned I'm not going to go drag race a teenager when I'm in my 60s. I'm going to stop at the red light because that's the smart,
There's
prudent
wisdom.
thing to do. Exactly. So again, this all goes back to wisdom. The other thing is, let's do a body scan. Your body, your people say gravity pulls your tush down and makes your face wrinkly. Yes, over time, like anything else, the longer you're here, the more things are going to happen. And we do develop your cell turnover slows down as you get older. That's not a bad thing. That's not an illness. It can lead to illness, but that's what your body does. One of the things that we, as again, my age group, I like the frame of reference. I didn't, because my mother was very, very cautious about sun exposure. I was really lucky. But my peers all laid out in the sun with aluminum foil and baby oil. And so
Please
now,
don't.
you've got the basal cell carcinoma and the melanoma spots and the growth's all over, and everybody's getting them all cut off. And the doctors are saying, whatever you do, don't go out in the sun. Those are age old. I had one abnormal spot on my knee, and the doctor said, that's from 30 years ago. Did you sun? I said, truthfully, I never sunbathed, but the few times I went out in the sun, I got a burn. So he goes, that's
Mhm,
probably what it's from. But
mhm,
headline news, kids, being out in the sun as you get older, being out in the sun, having a glass of wine, and these things are, I'm not going to say, I'm gonna say it kind of tongue in cheek, they're good for you. It's that you need sunlight. That's why it's there. That's why we're on the earth. So a nice walk out in the sun, 10, 15 minutes a day will make all the difference in your circadian rhythm and your alertness. It signals the body that you're awake and you're alert, and it's the morning and we're starting a new day. Okay. So these are things that, like, now we know are good. We're all vitamin D deficient. Nobody can explain it. Get out in the sun a little bit, not all day long, not 8 hours on the beach with aluminum foil, but a little bit of sun is helpful. Um, as you're all aware, I'm sure that colon cancer is on the rise and it's astronomical. And we're not eating enough fiber. Please, please, please stop the powder diets, the fake food, the just squeeze this protein powder into my food and I'll be an Adonis, or I'll look like a bodybuilder. Get your nutrition from food, tons and tons of fiber. You can't eat too much fiber. You can't eat too much fruits and vegetables. I always joke, I'm no longer going to tell everybody to drink water and eat their vegetables, but I think I have to. So get in that, don't sit and measure 10 glasses of water a day, but water, lots of fruits and vegetables. Yes, you need to increase your protein and vary it, but please get your food from natural sources. I can't say that enough. That's the one thing. You want to have a pizza once in a while, it's okay. It's okay to eat the cupcake, as we say. I have a nice giant piece of carrot cake on my birthday with cream cheese frosting. It's my favorite cake in the world. I am careful during the week. The other thing is so important, Donna. I don't want to miss this, is adding a little weight onto your body as you age is a natural adaptation to aging. It's a protective measure. So people who get a little fuller, especially in the abdomen and the lower hip area, that is a God-given protective mechanism for your body. So I'm going to quote somebody, Dr. Bailey Mayers over at the Cedars at the Barbara Streisand's Heart Center. She did a research study, and over and over again, she saw that women who were about 15 pounds above the weight chart, which the doctor will tell you you're overweight, which is ridiculous, but I'm 5'2". I don't know how anybody my height weighs 110. I really don't. It's insane. But so the range of that height is 110 to 144. That's the leeway you have. So stop beating yourself up. If you look at a supermodel who's 5'10" and weighs 125, they're lying. This whole thing around weight is insane. It's very, very good for you to have a little extra weight on you as you age. It's a very protective measure for, believe it or not, heart disease, certain cancers. And absolutely, if you fall or if you have an injury, that little bit of weight will save you later on. So let's not all be concerned. When I was having my daughter and I was pregnant and I went to yoga, I live in LA, so every celebrity who was pregnant was in this yoga class. And then I'd seen People magazine, oh, so and so has a 24-inch waist and weighs 120. No, she doesn't. She's 6 inches taller than me and about my width. So she weighs way more than that. Why are people even believing this? Because I could see it with my own eyes. So that's one of the things, this whole weight conundrum we have, of that it's actually better for you to have a little extra weight on you. And that's why you gain it as you get older. Nothing is more dangerous than to starve your body and to treat it badly as you get older. That accelerates disease. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that thank whatever your universal oneness thing is to you, whether it's a god or a deity of any sort, that you're here, that this world is beautiful, that we can get up every day and revel and enjoy the world that we have. If we can, we're stressed out by what's going on for sure, but just loving that you're here, is another critical part about it. And community is the one thing that'll get you out of your head. join a book club, go play cards, go take a walk, get involved. I feel funny that I even have to say that, but I see more and more, even friends and family that are living in 55 and over communities. I see that, they all say to me, I don't participate in a quarter of what I can. There's so much more for me to do. So push yourself. Are you a little shy? Is it a little bit hard for you? Then go take something up that you really, really want to do. It's extraordinary how you'll make friends in that process.
Mhm.
And we all took up hobbies and interests during the pandemic because everybody was trapped at home. Keep that up. Keep up the things that you like to do. And Donna, I'm going to speak for Donna and for me. Any of you listening, you can call us anytime. You can send us an email. We are community leaders in this together, right? Like everyone I interview on my show and every show I'm on, I always say, we're partners in this to get you to really, really come and share with us what your struggles are. Tell us what it is that's hard for you about getting old and grief and losing family members. And the world just seems to be spinning 100,000 miles an hour and we can't keep up. Try to stay in your own space and your own today and find that joy every single day that you can. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I do every morning is I sit down at my desk and, the world is sideways for
Yes.
sure. And I sit and I think like, okay, things are really screwed up. There's so many things I could sit and like in angst about. And it's an incredible time to be
Uh-huh.
alive.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It truly is. I mean, I'm doing things now I never imagined were
Yeah.
possible every single day and helping other people do this too. And that lights me up that like, there is nothing anybody can do to take that away from me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's
And I think
fabulous that you found your way and you found your niche and you're doing great things. Absolutely. I'm
and I think we all have the capacity to do that. We just need to choose to find those things that light us up. And from having these conversations, you are the 142nd interview, I believe.
Oh, wow.
And and there has been a through line through all of this, and it's about remembering.
Hmm.
We hit a certain age, we have the space and the bandwidth to start to think about or ask ourselves, or maybe somebody else asks us this question, what do you actually want?
Yeah.
And for some of us, that's the first time we've had that question
Yes.
posed to us. And when you could actually have the space to think about that and think back about around what you've accomplished and what you already have brought to the world, to yourself, to the people around you, and how can you now um, take all of these pieces and put them into what's next?
Right.
That is what's really incredibly special, and the ability to be able to do that and to change who we are based on what we want. Not even really change who we are, but change our direction based on what we want is a gift, regardless of what else is going on in the world.
Absolutely. And I always say you can do anything at any age, short of maybe as a kid you wanted to be a Major League Baseball player and didn't get accepted. So go join a softball league or go coach a team or go, right? And, women who wanted to, I don't know, be a movie star, go work in local theater, go volunteer at a school play. These things are so rewarding. They seem so tiny, but they make you feel alive.
I recently met a woman who's 91 years old. I met her right before her 91st birthday. For her 91st birthday, she went to Iceland by herself. She's learning Italian just in case she gets to go to Italy again. She's writing her second book.
Mhm.
She is frustrated with marketing the first one. I'm going to give her some help. And then she's already got her trip for her 92nd birthday planned and paid for.
Wow. Wow.
91, and she's not stopping. Like she's not slowing down. She's not making accommodations for maybe she won't be here. She knows it's a reality, but she's like,
Mhm.
I'm just going to keep going for as long as I can.
And that's 30 years ahead of us, right?
Yes,
That's
yes,
that's 30 years
yes,
away for us.
yes.
It's
So
amazing.
think
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
stretch that you had
Yes.
between 30 and
Yes.
60. Like
Yeah.
all of the things that you
Yeah.
accomplished in that span.
Yeah.
Like we're here now. We have
Yeah.
we can have another 30 years
Right.
if we take your advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So think about
Absolutely.
that, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not only that, like how much smarter are we now than we
Right.
were when we were 30? And we don't have so many of the other things that are taking our attention away. We're not raising small children. We're not
Right.
caring for elderly parents at this
Right.
point for the most part. It's just us. And, we're in a different place, with so many things in our lives. And what can we do
Yeah.
is the
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely.
And that's what gets me excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we have gone over, but I didn't want to stop you because you were on such a good roll.
Thank you. Thank you for the extra
No.
couple of minutes.
Now,
Yeah.
I usually end these with asking for a wisdom bomb, something small and actionable that people could take with them, but you have given so many.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to call back
Yes,
or
I just want to say life is not a competition. Life is to be lived. Like, let's get all the competitive, I'm better than you, I'm more than you, I'm less than you. Let's just get rid of all of that from our mind and realize you are you. So just find your own focus, find that one thing that you love, expand upon it, enjoy it, and, dance like everybody's looking. Yeah.
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 Oh, I love
Right.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. On that note, thank you. And please, everybody, connect with Patricia at her website, patriciagreenberg.com. She's also active on LinkedIn. And she's got a YouTube channel with, she's got some great videos on there. Follow that. Get her book. And if you have questions, comments while you're watching the replay, tag us. We'll come back and we'll keep the conversation going. And we will be back again with more every Wednesday, except for the last Wednesday of the month, where we have a meet and mingle, and come and join us for those too. And we've got lots more interviews to bring. We're booked all the way into May. So thank you, Patricia. And thank you for sharing so much incredible wisdom and knowledge and just good advice.
Thank you, Donna. And like I said, I consider you a friend on and off the air. And I know together and collectively we can do so much, and you out there can do so much. There's so much more living to do. So thank you so much for having me. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a
Yeah.
great Wednesday, everybody, and we'll be back.